This is Crackdown 3. We're on Xbox Series X, taking a look at this really interesting, large-scale sandbox experience where it's all about explosions, chaos, and having a really great time playing the game. It's kind of a lot of fun. So it retains its Xbox One X enhancement, which had a dynamic resolution scaling that hit 4K, native 4K most of the time. So we should actually be getting a solid native 4K resolution at 30 FPS with HDR support. And yeah, it looks quite wonderful, and I am having a very hard time hitting that agility warp. So this is Crackdown 3, the long-awaited sequel to the Crackdown series. One that definitely had not the greatest development cycle behind it. It was very long from its announcement, and I think that maybe built up the expectations for what Crackdown is to be a little too high for people. Because I personally think this is actually a really great Crackdown game. In general, it's like a solid title. Like it's decent, it's good, it's fun. It offers a lot of gameplay. They've added a lot of content to it since release. We're obviously playing the Keys to the City mode, so that allows us just to kind of have fun, easygoing action, but you can actually jump into this and, you know, kind of play it through a serious story mode, which is kind of fun. It's just like a crazy game about destruction, action, and blowing things up. It's crazy, it's wild. And aside from the the single player action here, there is an element of co-op, playing this with someone else. It was originally shown as being like a 4-player co-op game, but, well, things happened. And it was supposed to be this big demonstration of cloud gaming on Xbox, and that didn't happen. Yeah, I think that was the big problem with this one, because Crackdown really isn't like a premium tier AAA game. It just isn't. Like, I know the expectations for what a Crackdown title should have, and people were expecting way, way, way too much of this one. Only one? We're supposed to have, like, maxed out skills here. I only have maxed out agility? That's kind of weird. It's supposed to be all agent abilities maxed out. Oh, my bad. It's the wrong one. Agent skills. Oh, my bad. We gotta max it out. You gotta see these cool pump ups as soon as I'm done this. He's gonna be super powerful. But yeah, it's just like I kind of realized what Crackdown is, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily understand the fact that Crackdown is just kind of a wacky co-op game with big explosions, crazy action, and a wild time the whole way through as you liberate areas. It's kind of what Crackdown's about. And I think this one did a really good job of bringing back that original Crackdown style, having a, really enjoyable sort of campaign that was fun to play through, good challenge, good amount of gameplay. And then also having, additionally later on the Keys to the City, adding different content to the game to support it a little bit. It's actually quite well done for what a Crackdown game is supposed to be. Now, it also has an online multiplayer component that I'm hoping to get gameplay of. It does seem to be quite dead. I actually thought that was really cool too, because that sort of shows off the cloud technology to a small degree. But what it is, it's like this place where you can kind of just smash up the environment of it. You can just crush buildings. It's really quite cool. Obviously, they did not do a very good job of promoting it or adding content to it or getting people into it. And it also didn't help that this was basically a additional mode that was split from the game, so you actually have to launch it as its own standalone game, which is weird. It really does make sense. Like, you can pop between them easily, but it was very strange how they handled that experience, and I don't know quite what they were thinking with it, and I think it was very mishandled. That's a lot of this game, it was a very mishandled release. And I think that's a shame, because Crackdown as a game deserves, well, as a series deserves a lot better than what it got dealt with this title, because I do find this a lot of fun. Now, that being said, I really wish I could skip through this talking thing, because I've already done all this crap. Anyways, so what you're doing is you're battling lieutenants, and then you're fighting like a bigger guy, and then you're trying to save the city area, and it's like this beautiful, large-scale futuristic city location that you're going through. It's kind of nuts. It's pretty cool looking. And the general core gameplay loop of what Crackdown is you're going around kind of eliminating and killing enemies. And by doing so, you're enabling your skills, your different abilities to level up. So, in the game, you start out as this kind of like small agent, and then as you collect things such as these magical agility orbs, you're improving your abilities. You're becoming bigger, you're becoming tougher, you're becoming, more able to cause absolute mayhem out there. And you do that with the different skills. Driving improves your driving skill, shooting improves your shooting, using the melee improves your strength, and explosives as well. That's generally the gist of what it is. So the scope of the game is to work through this story, saving the city, taking out these different areas, working through these missions, and generally just really enjoying what this large-scale offering has. I think it's quite well done. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. Again, it's not the most amazing thing in the world, but it's a good, fun game. It's really solid. It's really quite enjoyable. Now, did it live up to the crazy expectations that were set for it by people because of the development and because of how early they announced it? Yeah, it definitely did not hit that level of gameplay. Still, it's a really great looking game. A large selection of agents you can use, a level of customization, a level of unlocking different agents to use too as you find things. Lots of different challenges, different supply points to take, enemies to battle against, situations to tackle, missions to do. It does offer quite a bit. There's like an element of boss battles as well. And it's just kind of this really fun, easygoing, advanced take on this Sandbox series that I have really enjoyed over the years. I think all of the Crackdown games are definitely worthwhile for their own sort of ways. And I think this really was actually like a true, at the time, next-gen vision of what Crackdown really could have been. And I think if it would have been available earlier, it would have made more of an impact than it did, because they really kind of just left the series out there to die, almost. I hope this is like the end of Crackdown, but I think it might be just due to how it was delivered to people, and I think that is just like one of the greatest shames, because the series is so... it's fun. It's really enjoyable. I mean, they've got a really cool looking world here. It's full of color and scale, and it's visually quite impressive. There's quite a bit of content to it. And they did support it. They did fix some things up too, which were kind of fun. And it all, again, it's quite lovely looking visually. I think it really does hit the mark there. And then, of course, you can cause absolute chaos and explosions and visit the different areas. It's kind of actually quite a big, map. I wish that the middle was a little bit more filled in, but I think the different zones are very distinct and offer unique locations for battles and situations that you can fight through. It's kind of really cool, and this is only showing off even like a sampling of what the actual scope of this experience is like. It really can be a fun time, especially if you get rolling into the cooperative elements of it. I think that adds a lot to what Crackdown is. Just keep in mind, when you jump in here, you're not going to have all of this crazy stuff unless you do the Keys to the City mode, which is basically like a cheats mode. But that's just like a fun extra play, right? It's just like an enjoyable thing that the Crackdown games have all sort of featured in order to give something a little bit more, extra when it comes to the content, which is fun. It's just... I think it really truly is a shame what happened to the series, and you can definitely throw some faults in some directions in regards to how this one was handled and stuff. But I think Crackdown is a franchise that really didn't fully get its due, and I think there is potential for this one to actually sort of hit it up there with the big games, if that makes sense, if they were to do it right. At the same time, I think that's like what Crackdown is. It's always meant to be sort of just a more easy, casual, going, crazy sandbox explosion game, and it's not necessarily meant to be some sort of heavy, intense, emotionally driven thing. It's Crackdown. It's booms, it's explosions, it's causing mayhem, it's destroying things, it's interacting with others and having a good time. But this looks really gorgeous. It truly does, and the sense of scale in it Like, it's a visually impressive treat. It really is. And, you know, you got great gameplay with explosions and lots of different weapons. I don't think I'm supposed to attack regular people. My bad, guys. But, you know, you got neat enemies. The orb system's good. Lots of collectibles to find with the orbs. Lots and lots of agility orbs, and then different vehicles and different areas to take over as you try to, like, well, save the city location. I don't know, it's just kind of a special type of game, at least I think so. It's something that is worth diving into and playing if you want something that just kaboom. I know I've been saying a lot of, like, explosion-based things, but that's really what it is. I mean, I've been using a rocket launcher the whole time. I've got this grenade thing that kind of causes destruction. It's what I think about when I think about Crackdown. It's just how wild things can get. The surprising game that was bundled, you know, with the Halo 3 beta or whatever back in the day, and actually being something that I tended to actually enjoy, and being like, oh wow, this is actually a really cool game. And then, you know, Crackdown 2, and then Crackdown 3 here. And there's potential for more. It could go further. I think what we have here, though, is a pretty good entry. Something you can have just a ton of fun with, especially if you can pair up and, you know, kind of work through it. I think that adds to what the experience is a little bit more than just kind of roaming at it. But, you know, single player wise, pretty good time, I think. And if you can find people for the multiplayer, that's also fairly enjoyable. And hopefully I will be able to show a little bit of that off, but I'm not sure if that will also be a possibility just due to, you know, the player population and stuff like that, which is also kind of a shame because I think the multiplayer is actually kind of neat and a little bit different. Perhaps forgettable, and I think they didn't do enough with it, but yeah, you know, it exists, and it's something that, you know, if you can play it, might be worth just to check out to see the whole cloud thing that they were talking about for so long that didn't really factor into games like they initially said that it would over time. Yeah, maybe you get what I mean.